Good morning, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of Ranking the Albums. Today, by popular demand, I know you guys have been waiting a long time for this one, Mott the Hoople. All right? A very, very popular and beloved British band that kind of, were they glam, were they hard rock, were they just good time rock and roll, were they a mix of all the above? Yes, certainly. This is one of those bands that, honestly, other than their classic live album, I really never owned anything from for many, many years, up until the last couple of years, and where I decided to, dive into all their albums and really kind of find out what all the hoopla about all these decades. Like I said, I always liked a lot of the popular songs. This is one of those bands that I always dug the radio hits. For whatever reason, just never really got into buying and really listening to their albums. And that's just because, you can't listen to every single band out there. And God knows I listen to quite a lot of them. So this has been actually a lot of fun. And what's interesting is to kind of see their kind of shift in musical styles throughout their, let's face it, not very long career. And a lot of these albums, they kind of go in phases depending on the labels that they're on. Then we get some lineup changes. So really interesting to kind of take all these in and dissect them and see, which ones am I liking more, which ones am I liking least, and why, and all that kind of stuff. So, and I'm even going to include, so we're looking at here 9 albums in total. I am also going to include the 2 albums that they did as just Mott. All right, after Ian Hunter and Ariel Bender left the band, so I'm going to include those, and that's what we're going to do. So it's those 9 albums. So we're looking at 1969 through 1976. So we're looking at 7 years, not a really long time. So I'm going to start us off with my number 9 choice, which I'm going to go back to 1971 for Wildlife. This is kind of a weird album. It's pretty different from what came before it. It starts off with a bang. You got this song called Whiskey Woman, which is a kick-ass hard rock tune, which, it's going to kind of come up here during the show. Mick Ralphs was the original member of the band on lead guitar, and so, wrote a lot of the songs, sang a couple of songs and whatnot. And, you listen to a song like Whiskey Woman, and you can kind of see the seeds of where he was going to go with Bad Company, Paul Rodgers and company, just a few short years later. I mean, most of his songs on a lot of these albums bring the hard rock muscle. And it's just interesting that kind of like, once he left the band, they would turn more towards the glammy side of things. But, his stamp on the early part of the band is, undeniable. But yet you listen to a lot of the early Mott stuff, especially the songs that he wrote, and you're like, oh yeah, I can kind of hear that Bad Company thing starting to simmer below the surface, even back in the Mott the Hoople days. So, Whiskey Woman, big hard rock song, really good riffs. But man, the rest of the album is nothing like that. All right, you got Angel on 8th Avenue, as well as Wrong Side of the River, both more acoustic, almost like folky-based numbers, okay? You got Waterboy, it's got all these like gentle soaring strings. It's, like a real poignant kind of pop song with strings. Lay Down, kind of a cool song, mixes psychedelia, pop, gospel even, touches of prog. There's a good amount of keyboards on these early albums. It Must Be Love is it's like a country song, as is Original Mixed Up Kid. All right, you got Home Is Where I Want to Be, kind of also has those kind of country and folk flavors. Kind of sounds like Traffic a little bit, from the similar time period. And then at the end of the album, they throw in this Keep It Knockin' extended live track, which is basically like a classic rock and roll medley. Overall, very kind of subdued, rootsy album, with the exception of the kickoff track, Whiskey Woman. So if you were buying this back in the day, you'd heard that first song like, oh yeah, and then the rest of the album is like completely different. So, not a terrible album, easily my least favorite of all these albums. All right, number 8, I'm going to go with Mott the Hoople, their debut from 1969. Pretty cool cover there. Right? Interesting album. Kind of fascinating that a band would start off their career with their very first album, the very first track of their debut album, with an instrumental take on the Kinks' You Really Got Me. Kind of works, though. Guitar work is pretty cool from Mick Ralphs. You got cool piano in the song. Everything pretty good. Pretty good. I dig it. They then go on a lot of covers on this album. They do Doug Sam's At the Crossroads. Kind of like sounds like a cross between Procol Harum and Bob Dylan. Because Ian Hunter's vocals on these early albums are very Dylan-esque. And they, the songs are kind of rootsy in spots, lots of organ here. So again, you'll find on these first couple albums when they really kick up the organ a bit, has kind of like that floating, atmospheric Procol Harum feel to it. And like I said, his voice does have a little bit of Dylan early on. Sonny Bono, another cover, Sonny Bono's Laugh at Me, kind of follows a similar path to that. All right. As does Ian's Backsliding Fearlessly. All right, so again, all these songs have those that kind of like, again, I hate to keep saying it, but, Dylan meets Procol Harum. Good amount of organ, those Dylan-esque vocals, kind of like these atmospheric, kind of emotional type songs. Then you got Mick Ralphs comes in with Rock and Roll Queen. That's his song, right? First real instance of, the hard rock and glam side of the band that we would see on subsequent albums. Rabbit Foot and Toby Time is kind of really cool, late 60s. Psychedelia, right? Kind of cool pop tune, lots of good instrumental bits in there and whatnot. And then at the end of the album, you have this really cool, lengthy tune. I think it's about 10 minutes and change, Half Moon Bay, which is kind of proggy. All right, you got Verdon Allen, who's the organ player in the band. Loads of organ all over that track. You got Ian Hunter on piano. Lots of tasty Mick Ralphs guitars. It's a real kind of moody, kind of proggy, epic, really, really good song. Easily, for me, the best song on the album. So there you have it. Mott the Hoople, 1969, coming in at number 8. Coming in at number 7. All right, we're going to go to 1976, the final album that these guys did. Again, this was under the Mott name because at the time, Ian Hunter went off to a solo career. He took guitarist Ariel Bender with him. So they got some new guys in the band. Those new guys were actually Ray Major on guitar and Nigel Benjamin on vocals. So this is the second album of that lineup. All three of the other guys still the same. Here we got the two new guys on board for the second album. Good upbeat rockin' album. Title track, kicks ass, catchy chorus, collision course, kind of like party boogie, Take like Status Quo and add a little bit of kind of party rock and roll, classic rock and roll to it. Really cool. Kind of, kind of like the Sweet meets Status Quo. It's kind of what I get with this song and a lot of stuff on these albums. Storm, more of the same. Good backing vocals, great chorus. You got the majestic Career, No Such Thing as Rock and Roll. Really good vocals on that song. Nice organ, plenty of guitar solos. Hold On, You're Crazy is absolutely blistering hard rock. Love that song. And then you've got the really fun Broadside Outcasts, which to me sounds like a cross between 10cc, City Boy, and Sweet. Lots of really great, engaging backing vocals. Just a really, really fun song. I tell you, really good album. I like both the Mott albums quite a bit. They're actually really strong. So coming in at number 6 is Drive On. All right, the first album of the band under just the Mott name from 1976. So again, Ian Hunter, Ariel Bender, gone. Okay. Ray Major comes in on guitar, Nigel Benjamin on vocals, joining the other three existing members. Good, upbeat, fun, hard rock album with a touch of glam throughout. You got Bye Tonight, pretty good hard rocker, loads of slide guitars. The slide guitars come back on Monte Carlo. She Does It is this rip-roaring boogie track, a lot of fun. Stiff Upper Lip reminds me of like Ziggy era Bowie. Really good track. Love Now, another good rocker. It Takes One to Know One sounds like absolute vintage Mott the Hoople. If I would have just heard that out of the blue and you would have told me that's Mott the Hoople from like 1974, I've been like, oh, cool. It's probably from the All Young Dudes album, right? But it's actually not. Really, really good song. The Great White Whale is a really interesting track on here because it almost sounds like a leftover from like Rush's debut album. And, the Great White Whale is, Great White North, wailing vocals. The guitars, it's big, heavy guitar rock, sounding like Alex Lifeson, the big riffs, slashing solos, and then the vocals just are upper register shrieking. It's kind of weird. I'm listening to it, I'm like, man, it's like, were they trying to mimic Rush, or is it just a coincidence? I don't know. Very, very cool, though. All right, so that's Drive On, number 6. Number 5, we're going to go with Mad Shadows from 1970. Okay, it's pretty early on. Second album here, very different from the first album. This is like dark, intense, heavy rock. Totally sounds like a different band. You got Thunderstruck Ram, kicks off with big hard rock fury, big booming riffs from Mick Ralphs. No Wheels to Ride, again, brings up some Procol Harum elements. All right, soaring vocals, sumptuous organ from Vernon Allen. You Are One of Us has elements of like, kind of like, I hear the Faces and a little bit of Rod Stewart, solo Rod Stewart. Again, Ian at times early on in Mott's career, kind of sounds like Dylan, kind of sounds like Rod Stewart at times. Interesting mix there. You got Walking with a Mountain is another big, boisterous hard rocker with frantic riffing, lots of piano, and really good vocals from Ian Hunter on that one. You got Threads of Iron, blues rock meets folk, catchy hooks and melodies all over the place. When My Mind's Gone is another piano-led bluesy piece with a really gutsy Ian Hunter vocal. The only thing I could say on this album, the band kind of really doesn't sure what direction they want to go in. And, I get that. A lot of bands around this time period are experimenting and all different stuff. But it's a solid record. I dig it. But I think, the best was yet to come. Number 4, we're going to go with The Hoople from 1974. Really good album. Great cover. I mean, that's just an unmistakable cover right there. And here we've got Ariel Bender from Spooky Tooth replacing Mick Ralphs, who's off to Bad Company land. Fun mix of glam and hard rock. You got The Golden Age of Rock and Roll was the big single on the album. Really engaging, great classic rock track. You got the heavy rock and Crash Street Kids. Born Late 58, another really good song. Marionette shows off lots of Ariel's tasty leads. Really good player, actually. He's maybe not as big a riff guy as Mick Ralph was, but I think that Ariel Bender, really good lead guitar player. Let's see, got some horns here and there in the album. Alice kind of sounds like a sleazy Rolling Stones leftover. Totally dig that. You got nice Morgan Fisher organ, piano work on this particular track. Pearl and Roy, old school rock and roll feel with a little bit of sax. You got the jazzy Through the Looking Glass. You got Roll Away the Stone, which is another really popular song from this album. Kind of closes things off. One of my favorite Mott the Hoople tracks. Love Roll Away the Stone. Last album with the Mott the Hoople name, because Ian would be gone shortly after taking Mr. Bender with him. All right, coming in at number 3, we're going to go to 1972's Brain Capers. Pretty heavy album, actually. Again, this is a point in time where the band just, you get the impression they just really, are we a hard rock band? Are we kind of like a boogie band? Are we a glam band? Are we a folk band? We don't really know. We're just going to do a little bit of everything. But this album is pretty heavy. Death May Be Your Santa Claus has some really cool, big, crunchy riffs, lots of organ. Your Own Backyard, again, kind of reminds me of like the Stones a little bit. Darkness, hard rock take on a Jesse Colin Young classic, right? Really good version here. You got The Journey, which is 9+ minutes long. Kind of proggy like Procol Harum. Again, you got the kind of simmering organ, piano, really good heartfelt vocals from Hunter, and the song really kind of builds in intensity, gets heavier as it goes. Really good track. Sweet Angeline, up-tempo boogie, right? The Moon Upstairs is big, heavy rock with some cranking Mick Ralph's riffing. So, probably if you're looking for like their heaviest album, I'd say arguably it's this one right here. Definitely cool. My top 2, I kind of kept going back and forth on, because these 2 albums are just classic Mott the Hoople, and I actually changed my order a couple times, but I'm going to go with what I have it now. So number 2, I'm going to go with Mott from 1973. All right, this is the U.S. cover. Obviously, if you're from the U.K., you got a different cover. Classic album, big album from the band. Right, the last with Mick Ralphs. You got All the Way from Memphis is the big hit on this album. Memorable chorus. You got the honky tonk piano, Scream, and Andy McKay sax. Of course, Andy from Roxy Music. You got the hard rock and glam Jim Whiz Kid. You got Honolulu Boogie, which is a good catchy rocker. Violence, great hard rock tune with some big riffs from Mick Ralphs. Driving Sister also rocks. Good sing along chorus. I'm a Cadillac, El Camino Doloroso, also a standout track on this album. So catchy, great riffs, and I love the guitar cadenza by Ralphs during the last couple of minutes of the song. Really cool track. Could be my number 1 any other day. I'm going today with All the Young Dudes, though, from 1972, although, man, these first 2 were so good. Ian Hunter really coming into his own here, big time. By now, you can see kind of who's the big star in the band, right? You got David Bowie produced the album, basically considered a glam rock classic. You got a very cool cover of Sweet Jane by the Velvet Underground. All right. You got the solid rock track, Mama's Little Jewel, which has, more sax and piano. They added a good bit of sax and lots more pianos. They would kind of go through their career. You got the big, huge hit, All the Young Dudes, right? Everybody loves that song, Bowie track that he gave to the band. You got Sucker. Sucker's a great track, big, hard rocker, great riffs from Ralph, great Hunter vocals. Even better when you hear the live versions of it. I mean, Sucker is like a track meant to be played live on the stage. You got Jerk and Crocus, also good up-tempo party rocker. Something, I listen to Jerk and Crocus and I'm thinking, man, I think Kiss was listening to this album. Can hear little Kiss-isms from those first couple of albums. One of the Boys, cool, moody number from Ralph's and Hunter. They co-wrote this one together, which again shows off their real hard rock side. You got Soft Ground, another big, strong, heavy rock tune. Crisp riffs from Mr. Ralph's. A lot of good Vernon Allen organ. Really underrated organ player. And then really interesting track on this album is Ready for Love / After Lights. So, of course, Ready for Love is a song that Mick would take on with him to Bad Company, and they would then redo the song to even greater heights, but it's still really good here, and he actually sings it on this album. So really cool. Like if you've never really listened to this album before, and then you're playing, you're like, oh, wait a second, I know that song. Isn't that a Bad Company song? Yeah, it's a Mick Ralph song that he later redid with Bad Company, but very cool to hear it on here. So very cool. So there you have it. That's my ranking here for Mott the Hoople. We got All the Young Dudes coming in at number 1, Mott coming in at number 2, number 3, Brain Capers, number 4, The Hoople, number 5, Mad Shadows, number 6, Drive On, number 7, Shouting and Pointing, number 8, Mott the Hoople, and number 9, coming in at the bottom, easily my least favorite, is of course Wildlife from 1971. So there you have it. Curious to see how you guys rank the Mott the Hoople catalog. Want to rank all 9 of them, just the official Mott the Hoople albums, and you don't want to include the Mott albums, it's fine too, but they're really good actually, so you should check them out if you haven't. And let me know what you guys think of this pretty cool band. So visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, of course, we're here on YouTube all the damn time. Lots more stuff coming up this week, so stay tuned. And don't forget to tune in on Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Sea of Tranquility Fall Fest, a great 2.5-hour program that we're putting together for you with all sorts of fantastic performances by bands of all genres. Many you know, some you may not know. All right, so you'll be, I think you'll totally dig what's going to happen here on this show. And of course, there'll be merchandise available from the event, and it's all for charity for the Humane Society. So please tune in, help support the Humane Society, and we'll see you all then and later on this week. So more stuff coming. So take care, everybody. And also, if you like what you see here on the channel, please do hit the Ko-Fi link down in the video's description below. Any contribution is greatly appreciated and we'll put to good use here on the channel. So thanks for everything, guys. We'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.